1:26 p.m. on Wednesday, 1:26 Central Time, where I am. I'm in Texas, and we're on Central Time there. I'm Brian Manning, and I am a political asylum lawyer. My law firm helps people all over the country secure their future in the United States through asylum. So I used to be an asylum officer with the government, and that's the person who actually interviews asylum applicants and then makes decisions on their cases. But then I switched sides, and now I'm a political asylum lawyer. And my law firm every single day focuses on helping people secure their future in America through asylum. So I'm going to take your questions today, as always. So go ahead and you can start leaving your questions in the comments on TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube. You can leave those questions in the comments, and I'll get to them in just a minute. But I wanted to say a few words first about a topic that comes up pretty often. So I'll often get inquiries from people who will say, hey, I heard, Brian, that I can get my green card or my permanent residence if I've been in the United States a certain amount of years. Or maybe it's, I've heard I can get my permanent residence if my asylum application has been pending for a certain amount of years, whether in the asylum office or an immigration court. If you haven't gotten a final decision in a certain amount of years, people sometimes think, okay, well then I've heard that, I can get a green card, I can get permanent residence just because of this wait. So the question is that true? Can you do that? Can you get a green card or any other kind of status just by having waited or been here a certain amount of time, or having had an asylum application or any other application pending for a certain amount of time? No. Bummer, I know. Unfortunately, the answer is no. There's no rule like that. There's no program whereby you can get status just because you've been here a certain amount of time or been waiting a certain amount of time. Now, there is one thing that's kind of along these lines that I think a lot of people confuse, and they think because they've heard about this other thing, they think, if I just wait here 10 years, I got this. So this thing is called cancellation of removal. And what it says is that if you've been waiting, there's a few different things you have to comply with to qualify for it, but the main thrust of it is this. If you've been here in the United States for 10 years, and for at least 10 years before you get put in deportation proceedings, before you get the notice to appear, and that gets filed with the court starting the deportation proceedings against you. If you're here for 10 years before you get put in deportation proceedings, and you're a person of good moral character, and you can show that you being deported or sent out of the country would result in extremely hard, basically super, super, super bad hardship for a qualifying relative in the United States, then you can not get deported, and they'll give you a green card in immigration court. And those qualifying relatives are your parent, your spouse, or your children. Okay, those are the only people that count for purposes of this analysis under cancellation of removal. But here's the thing. It's really hard to win for a couple of reasons. First of all, the hardship that would be caused to your parent or spouse or child who you would be leaving behind if you're deported has to be really bad. It's got to be like really severe. Most often the people that win this kind of case are people that have a relative. By the way, those relatives in the United States have to be either a U.S. citizen or a lawful permanent resident, a green card holder. Okay, so they have to either be a U.S. citizen or a green card holder, and they have to be your parent, your spouse, or your child. So the harm that they would suffer if you had to leave has to be really bad for you to win. Often the people that win these are people that have a family member, a qualifying family member, who has like some really bad medical condition or disability or something, and the person who's seeking cancellation of removal is the one that's taking care of them and helping them. And the person would just be in big trouble if the person got deported, right? So that's cancellation of removal. But here's the thing. You can't just apply for it. If you're here 10 years, there's no way for you to just say, I've been here 10 years. I think I meet the other requirements. I'm going to file my application with USCIS. That's not how it works. You can only file this application for cancellation of removal if you are in removal proceedings, if you're in deportation proceedings. So if the government's trying to deport you and you've been here for 10 years before they started those deportation proceedings against you, then you can apply for this cancellation of removal. But here's the thing. You also cannot, you can't just ask to go get put in deportation proceedings, right? If you walk up to an ICE office, that's the agency that does the deportations, and you say, hey, could you please put me in deportation proceedings so that I can apply for cancellation of removal? They'll probably say no. So what happens is a lot of people who have been here for 10 years will apply for asylum, knowing that they're not going to win asylum, like either because they just have no claim at all, like maybe they don't even fear being harmed in their country, or they're way past the 1 year filing deadline. Because remember, for asylum, you normally need to apply for asylum during your first year in the United States. And if these people are waiting more than 10 years and then they apply, they're probably not going to qualify for asylum. There's some exceptions, true, to the 1 year filing deadline, but generally speaking, it's going to be hard, if not impossible, to qualify for one of those if you've been here for 10 years. So what they do is they say, oh, I'll apply. And the officer will just see that I'm past the 1 year filing deadline. I'll have a quick interview, asylum interview, and then they'll deny my case. And when they deny my asylum case, they'll send me to immigration court, because that's what happens. If you apply for asylum and you get a negative decision, and at the moment when they make that negative decision, if you don't have legal immigration status, then they send your case to immigration court, and you get put in deportation proceedings. Okay. And so people will use this as a mechanism to get into deportation proceedings. They'll apply for asylum as a means to get into deportation proceedings so that they can apply for cancellation of removal. But this is tricky, because it's possible that the judge could say, you know what, you lied on your asylum, with your asylum application materials. This was not a good faith application. It's frivolous and it's fraudulent, because if they think that you lied about things just to get into to deportation proceedings so that you could apply for cancellation of removal. It can be really tricky. It's kind of a risky, dangerous strategy, because if you get put in deportation proceedings, you don't have successful cancellation of removal, you may get deported. Okay. And again, it's hard to win cancellation of removal. Even if you get into deportation proceedings after you've already been in the United States for 10 years, the standard, like the threshold to win, to prove all the things you have to prove to win, it's really hard. Judges do not give it out very often. Okay. So if anyone tells you, oh yeah, no, I think you can get a green card just by having been here for 10 years or whatever it is, now that's not how it works. There's no program, there's no policy that says just because you've been here a while, you get a green card, or just because your application's been pending a while, you get a green card. If your asylum application has been pending with USCIS for a while, like if you applied more than 3 years ago and you haven't gotten a decision, you can consider suing them to make them give you a decision. But that just makes them make and give to you a decision. It doesn't give you any kind of status. Okay, so that's how that works. Be careful if anyone tells you otherwise. There are some not very honest, not very ethical people out there, like immigration forms preparers and even some immigration lawyers, who will tell unsuspecting immigrants, oh, no, we can take care of this. You've been here long enough so we can apply for your green card. And sometimes they'll file an asylum application for them without the person ever even knowing that it was filed. And later they'll be like, oh, that's just what we had to do to get you into immigration court so you could apply for cancellation of removal. But that's a risky thing. Okay. So so be careful with that. All right. Be careful. Let me know in the comments. Let me know in the comments where you're watching from today on TikTok and Facebook and YouTube. Tell me where you are. I'm always curious to hear where folks are. For those of you who just joined us, I'm Brian Manning, and I'm a political asylum lawyer. I used to be an asylum officer with the government, but I changed. And now my law firm helps people all over the country to secure their future in the United States through asylum. So let me know in the comments in TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube what questions you have. Okay. All right. So TikTok. Yep. Nice. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Thanks for commenting. I'm going to take this question from Mohammed, who says on YouTube, by the way, for those of you on TikTok and Facebook, check out my YouTube channel. That's where I'm providing my best stuff. Okay. When I'm giving my advice and sharing all my best stuff. So, the YouTube channel is called Manning Asylum Law. Just go to YouTube and search Manning Asylum Law, and you'll find it, and subscribe there. Okay. So Mohammed on YouTube says, can you add stuff to your asylum case after applying? Absolutely. Yeah. If you get additional evidence, or if you want to add country of origin information like reports about what's going on in your country and what's happened, then yes, you can definitely add that stuff after the fact, after you've applied. In fact, we have a lot of clients who hire us after they have already applied. And the idea is that they come to us wanting to strengthen their case, right? To make it better on paper, and also then to prepare be as prepared as possible for the interview. Okay. And so one of the first thing that we do really with these clients in this position who've already applied is we submit what's called a supplemental filing, where we're going to submit several things, including a legal brief that I'm going to write where I explain exactly why they're eligible for asylum. And the purpose is to, is to basically pave the way. We want to set the stage. Okay. We want when our client goes into their asylum interview, we want the officer to already be thinking, oh, you know what? Based on their documents, I already think that they're eligible for asylum. And if they just show up at the interview today and say things that are consistent with what's in their documents, then I plan to give them asylum. That's what we're going for. Okay. We want to precondition them, persuade them. So the answer, Mohamed, is yes, you can. How do you do that? Well, I recommend sending by physical mail and emailing, assuming that you applied on paper. As you hopefully all know, if you've been watching me recently, you should know that you can apply online for asylum now with USCIS. And that's something that I love to talk about because it's way better than applying by mail. But it's only been available since November of 2021, so it's relatively new. And most immigration lawyers don't even know that it's a possibility yet. Because most immigration lawyers don't keep up with asylum, to be honest with you. Most immigration lawyers do a little bit of everything across immigration law, and they don't really become really good and become an expert at any particular area within immigration law. As where at my law firm, we focus on political asylum. That's what we do every day, all day, okay? And so we know about things like the fact that the asylum office has started accepting online applications, and most other immigration lawyers don't seem to know that yet. So you can, if you applied on paper, Mohamed, then I recommend sending a packet by mail and by email. Okay. There's also a list of public email addresses for all of the asylum offices that you can use to communicate with them. All right. Thank you for your question, Mohamed. I appreciate it. Let me know in the comments where you're watching from. Okay. Oh, nice. Okay. Trying to read this question from TikTok. It says, still pending. Can I do? I'm married to a U.S. citizen. My asylum is pending. What can I do? Okay, from TikTok. Thank you for the question. All right, so this happens frequently where someone applies for asylum and then they become eligible for something else, right? So this person married to a U.S. citizen, and that's a way that you can get a green card, that you can get permanent residence is by marrying a U.S. citizen. And so the question is, well, what do? Do they pursue both cases or just do one? If so, which one? Well, then you should apply for the marriage-based green card. Okay, that's the easiest, most direct route. It's much easier than asylum, as long as the immigration officers don't think that you're trying to commit fraud by getting married to a U.S. citizen. And as long as they don't think that, then you should win. Okay, like marriage-based green card cases are much easier to win than asylum cases are. So here's the thing: you should apply right away. You and your spouse should apply. It consists of 2 immigration forms. Call us if you want to talk about it. By the way, let me put my number on the screen. Well, on Facebook and YouTube, it's below. It's also above my head. And then on TikTok, go to my profile. Okay, scroll up and go to my profile. You'll see our phone number. It's 713-909-0401. Again, 713-909-0401. You can call us to talk about this question about the green card based on marriage. But the short answer is you should do it, but do not withdraw your asylum case. Okay, it's perfectly fine to have both of them pending and going at the same time. It's perfectly fine. Okay, there's no problem with that. Once you win your marriage green card, your green card based on marriage, once you have it in your hand, then it's okay to tell the asylum office, I want to withdraw my asylum case. Okay, but don't do it before then. Okay. Don't do it before then. People do that sometimes. And then what happens? Well, they either get divorced. It happens, even if you're thinking, no, not me. It happens. Or they get denied their marriage case because the officer thinks they're lying. The officer thinks that they got married just for the purpose of trying to get an immigration benefit. Because, surprise, people do that all the time. It's very common. They shouldn't do it, but they do. So it happens, right? So what then should you do? Just keep going. Well, apply for the marriage-based green card, but then keep the asylum case going. And once you get the green card based on marriage in your hand, then you can withdraw, basically close out the asylum case. Okay. All right. Thank you for that question. So we got Chris, who is watching from Dayton, Ohio. I don't think I've ever been there. Dayton is a place I've never been, but I need to get there. Guado says, why is the consulate in India not conducting immigrant visa interviews? I have no idea. I don't. So my law firm, we focus on political asylum. We do marriage-based green card cases as well, but what we really focus on is political asylum. And I can't tell you honestly, Guado, that I'm up to speed with why the consulates in India are not processing immigrant visas at this time. So here's what I recommend. Gaurav, if you want to get an answer with confidence, then you should talk to a lawyer who focuses on consular processing. You know, when you're overseas trying to get an immigrant visa, that you need to come to the United States to immigrate, to like live here permanently. I would talk to a lawyer who focuses on those things. Okay, on that kind of case. Okay. All right. Let's go back. Another on Facebook, or no, on YouTube. Anna says, I want to know if I marry someone who's applying for the green card before this one is approved, can I apply too? Before which one? Oh, yeah, hold on. Before what is approved, Anna? I'm not sure I understand the question. Maybe try to restate it or send us a message or give us a call if you want to talk. Ina says she's watching from Honduras. We have a YouTube channel in Spanish, and if you want to check that out, it's called Asilo para Venezolanos in EEUU. It's titled with Venezuela in it, but it's actually, it has information that will be relevant to anyone, and it's in Spanish. Okay. So let's see. Okay. We got Seattle, Washington for Nikolai. Thanks for commenting, Nikolai. Are you from Romania, Nikolai? That's my best guess, based on your name. All right, let's see. Good question over here. Let's take this from Ahmed Yazid. Hey, Ahmed, good to see you here. He says, is there any option or way to bring parents here while you're waiting for asylum since you can't go back to the home country? So Ahmed raises a super important point, which is with your asylum case pending, and even when you win asylum, and even when you have your green card, all the way until you get your U.S. citizenship, you shouldn't go back to your own country, or else the immigration people here in the United States may think, you know what, I bet you never really were afraid in the first place, or at least you don't need asylum now because you went back there. So that shows me that either you were lying then or something's changed and now you don't need asylum. So why would we let you stay here with asylum? And they can take it away from you. Okay. So he's asking, since you can't go back to visit family, what can you do? Like, is there a way to bring your parents or other family members here? No, there's no visa that's especially for this or any kind of special mechanism. Unfortunately. Okay. A lot of times people's family members will get tourist visas and come and visit. But it's obviously hard sometimes to do, and it can be hard to get a tourist visa. I know this from experience how this works, because before I was an asylum lawyer, I was an asylum officer. But before that, I was a diplomat with our foreign ministry, and I did visa interviews as part of that for a while. So if you have visa questions, I might be able to help you from the stuff that I remember. But again, that's not what we focus on now. What we do is political asylum. But the point, to answer your question, Ahmed, no, man, unfortunately, there's not really a good way to do this. Okay. You've got to, even after you win asylum, that does not create any way for you to bring them here. Okay. So, once you get your U.S. citizenship, at that point, you can petition for them to come here, but it's going to take a while. So, unfortunately, bad news. I don't have any good news for you in response to that question. Okay. Tanya is in Massachusetts. Nice. Yeah, we have quite a few clients in Massachusetts with cases pending at the Boston Asylum office and in the immigration court up there too. I saw a question I wanted to address. Where did that go? Who said they've been waiting 8 years? Where was that? I forgot to flag it. So I can't remember who it was, but someone on YouTube said, I've been waiting 8 years. What can I do? You should sue the government. If you're waiting 8 years to get your asylum interview, you should sue the government. Okay. The government's supposed to act in a reasonable period of time on all immigration applications. And if they don't do that, you can sue them to make them do their job. You do this by filing a lawsuit in a federal court. It's called a mandamus lawsuit. And you're asking a judge to tell the asylum office they have to give you an interview. They have to do their job, which entails giving interviews to people who have applied for asylum. And 8 years is absolutely not a reasonable time to wait for your interview. So if you sue, you'll probably almost certainly have success. But you know what? You may be able to get your interview without actually suing, rather just by threatening to sue, by sending a letter and email to the asylum office saying, listen, I've been waiting too long. If you don't give me my interview in the next 30 days, I'm going to have to sue you. Okay. That there's a pretty good chance that you will have success with that because you've been waiting for so long. Because when they see that letter, there's a good chance they go, "Ooh, whoa, we don't want to fight this case. This guy's been waiting 8 years. If he does sue us, it's going to be time consuming and hard for us, and he's going to win. He's probably almost certainly going to win since he's been waiting for so long." So they don't want to fight that case, right? So they will probably say, "Okay, we don't want to fight about this in court. Here's your interview." So threaten to sue and give a deadline for when you want your interview by, like 30 days. And if you don't get it, or if they don't respond, then you should actually sue them. Okay. It's called a mandamus lawsuit if you want to do it. It's spelled Mandamus. Mandamus lawsuit if you want to Google it. Okay. All right. That was Nikolai. You said, sorry, I found the comment now. Nikolai said, I've been waiting for 8 years. That's what you should do, Nikolai. Okay. All right. Let's see. All right. So a question on YouTube from Max, who says, I'm Egyptian. Is that any difference between nationalities? But Max, by that, do you mean like, does it matter what your nationality is for purposes of winning asylum? Is that what you mean? I mean, if that's what you're asking, then the answer is yeah, it matters because you have to show that you deserve asylum with regard to every country of which you are a national. So, some countries have dictatorial regimes that persecute their citizens on account of one of the 5 protected characteristics, which are your race, religion, nationality, political opinion, and something called membership in a particular social group. So it matters, yeah. But to try to maybe address the underlying question, can you win asylum as an Egyptian? Yeah, there's definitely Egyptians that win asylum for various reasons. It's a great country in a lot of respects. I've been there and it was amazing. One of my favorite trips of my life. But it's not, as you know, Max, it's not without its problems. I mean, all countries have problems, right? But there's some tough stuff in Egypt, and there is persecution of different groups of people for reasons that can lend to a good asylum case. Okay. So we should probably talk about it. Max, why don't you call us at 713-909-0401. And by the way, if you just joined us recently, I'm Brian Manning, and I'm a political asylum lawyer. And my law firm is based in Texas, but we help people all over the country. So it doesn't matter where you are. We have clients all over. Florida, New York, New Jersey, Chicago area, all over Texas, California, all over, and everywhere in between. So call us if you want to talk about your situation. If you call us, we'll do what's called an asylum strategy session, where we'll talk with you in detail about your situation and see if we think we can help you. Okay. So fix this. Yeah. So get this out of your way. So in an asylum strategy session, we'll get to understand your case, your situation, and we'll tell you what we think. We'll tell you if we think that you have a chance to win asylum, or if we think you have virtually no chance. And if we think you have virtually no chance, we'll tell you that we can't help you, because we don't take cases where we think that the person has like no chance of winning. Because I would feel bad about taking thousands of dollars from someone if I think that I can't really help them in a meaningful way. So we'll tell you what we think and whether we think we can help you, and if so, exactly how we would go about doing that. Those are the things that we'll talk about in an asylum strategy session. So call us if you want to set a time to talk with me or one of my colleagues, one of the other political asylum lawyers in my law firm. All right, Sammy SS by Samiat Ajayi. So I'm watching from Houston. Yep, that's where I was an asylum officer. Okay, interesting from Ahmed Musawar. He says on YouTube, says judge dismissed my case in May. I applied for affirmative asylum in June, and now I have fingerprints appointment. Do you know how long it takes to get the interview? It'll probably be really quick. It'll probably wait. You said June now. Okay, so now it's coming up soon, I guess. Like, what is it now? September 14th. So July, August. So it took 3 months to get your biometrics. That's kind of a long time, actually. But now that you've got them scheduled, your interview will probably happen soon. It'll probably be within the next month or two, or let's say a month or two after your biometrics appointment. There's no guarantee. You can never guarantee timeframes with USCIS or with the immigration courts. But I can tell you that most people who have applied for asylum with USCIS in the last year have gotten their interview quickly. Most of them in like 2 or 3 months after applying. So be ready. Okay. You got to be ready, Ahmed. You can't just think, oh, I'll worry about it later. Like, you need to start preparing and practicing now. And as I said earlier, we help lots of people in your position, people who've already applied, then they're like, you know what, I think I need some help, and they want to strengthen their case and they want to be as prepared as possible for the interview. We help people in your position all the time. So I hope you'll give us a call to see if we think we can help you. And just by way of follow-up, Ahmed said, how strong is a religious asylum case? I mean, it totally depends on the circumstances, right? It depends on what has happened to you, and why you're at risk because of religion. Like, what can we point to that will convince the officer that what has already happened to you in the past is bad, and whether anything has happened to you in the past or not, we have to convince them that there's a good chance that something bad will happen to you in the future. And then the next big part of the question is why. Like, what is it? It sounds like in your case, you think it's a religious asylum case. How do we know that it's your religion that's causing the bad guys to want to harm you? What can we point to? Have they said things that make that clear? Sometimes they do. Sometimes they say things that are blatantly, explicitly religious related when they're threatening you or harming you. Sometimes they don't at all. And we have to use what's called circumstantial evidence, where we point to things that we say, when you add all these together, when you connect the dots between them, it becomes clear that this is the reason that they want to hurt Ahmed is his religion. Okay. And that can be tough to do. So yeah, I hope you'll call us so we can talk about how we can help you do that. Okay. So watching, who is this? Carlos Cancino is watching from Tampa. Yeah, we have lots of, are you Venezuelan, Carlos? We have lots of Venezuelan clients in Tampa. I know there's people from other countries in Tampa who are seeking asylum or interested in it, but we have lots of Venezuelan clients in the Tampa area. And Houston, if any Venezuelans are watching in Katie Suela, hello, Katie Suela, as they call it. Nice. Carlos says yes, he is Venezuelan. Carlos, okay, you already had your interview. So you had your interview, and just wondering how long do you have to wait for a response? Man, I don't know. It takes at least 2 weeks, right? And then it usually takes several more weeks. Not always, but usually. So you're still totally in the normal time frame. It often takes 4 or 5 or 6 weeks. Okay, so don't get worried yet. And even if it takes a lot longer, even if it takes a month or 2 months or 3 months, don't worry. I mean, I know it's frustrating. I know it's super frustrating because you want certainty, you want clarity, so you can move ahead with your life. But when I say don't worry, by that I mean the fact that it's taking a while does not mean that it's going to be a negative decision. Okay. So, by the way, Carlos, so I don't know if you heard me say this earlier, if you were on, but I have a YouTube channel called Asilo para Venezolanos in EU. Okay. So if you go to YouTube and search Asilo para Venezolanos in EU, you can find it. And we've got some stuff that's specific to Venezuelans, but also just a lot of good content in Spanish. Hopefully you won't need it. Hopefully you're done with asylum. Hopefully you get the approval letter and you get asylum. But if you don't, check it out, and you can talk with us if you want to see about us possibly helping you if your case does get sent to immigration court. I hope it doesn't. I hope you win. All right. All right. So another question about that. Basically the same thing I just answered. Thank you. That's very kind of you. I appreciate it. Okay. Family to interview so call so far. No lawyer advice, please. I think, okay, so on TikTok we've got, I filed in 2016. In your family, no interview, no call so far, no lawyer advice, please. Well, my first advice would be, I think you should get a lawyer, right? Like it's statistically, you're more likely to win asylum if you have a lawyer. There's no denying that. The statistics show that. Okay. So I think you should get a lawyer if you can. If you can't afford a lawyer, then I encourage you to watch all my stuff. I'm going to be putting out some training courses, some longer, like very detailed asylum interview training course materials. So watch my YouTube channel. Okay. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet to Manning Asylum Law YouTube channel, and check it out often, because I'm going to put some very detailed trainings on it. Okay. So yeah, I think you should try to hire a lawyer. And then you've been waiting long enough, 2021. Yeah. So you've been waiting like 6 years, right? That's long enough for you to be able to apply pressure on the asylum office to get an interview by saying, if you don't give me my interview, I'm going to have to sue you. And it's long enough that if you need to actually sue, you could do that and you'd probably win because you've been waiting for so long. So you should consider threatening the government. You should get a lawyer, consider threatening to sue the government. And if that doesn't work, actually sue the government. Okay. Those are the things that I think you should do. All right. So on YouTube, Natalia Barfereva says, if the interview decision is granted, do we need to apply for an EAD renewal? So meaning, like, I think she means if you win asylum, the asylum office, or by an immigration judge, do you need to apply to renew your EAD, assuming you've already got EAD means work permit, by the way. It stands for Employment Authorization Document, also referred to as a work permit. So if you've already got one of those based on your pending asylum case, and then you win asylum, what happens? Well, it's actually a different category. So as soon as you win asylum, you're an asylee and you can work legally without any kind of work permit card or anything. Okay. The little card that you get when you win asylum, in addition to an approval letter that the asylum office creates, they also create an I-9 form, which is a little kind of cardboardy, little square card looking thing that says, basically, you have asylum now, asylee status. And that should be a sufficient proof to show any employer or prospective employer that you have the right to work legally in the United States. The problem is a lot of employers don't understand that. They're not used to that. They're used to seeing an employment authorization document, the work permit. And so they want to see that. They're like, why are you showing me this I-94? What am I supposed to do with this? And so while you can work legally immediately as an asylee, a lot of people find it more convenient to apply for a work permit, because you can get a work permit card that's based on your asylee status. So the one that you have now, before you get the approval, is based on something else. It's based on like pending asylum. You have an application pending. When you win asylum, it's a different category. It's an asylee. That's one of the grounds for giving a work permit to someone, is because they are an asylee. So that was a long way of saying, sorry, Natalia, is that when you win, the best thing asylum, it is a good idea to apply for a new EAD that will be based on your status as an asylee. That makes life more convenient and easier. Okay. Okay. Hey, Paula, in Spanish. I'm going to do this live in English. But listen, if you want to, si quiere hablar, Paula, vamos a continuar en inglés, pero para hablar, llámenos. Okay, voy a poner el número en la pantalla. So, okay, let's take a question from TikTok. Okay. So on TikTok, we got a question that says, if I'm an asylee, how long to get my green card after I applied for my green card? So if you apply, so first of all, so that everyone knows, 1 year after you win asylum, you're eligible to apply for your green card based on your asylee status. And then the question that this person's asking on TikTok is, how long does it take from there? Like how long are you gonna have to wait after you've applied for that green card based on your asylee status? How long to get it? I checked this the other day, the projected wait time, the estimate, and I think it depends on the office, okay? Because there's several offices that issue these. And the one that you have to send your stuff to is determined by where you live, right? Well, the one that I checked the other day in Texas, I think it was like 25. I think it was like 2 years, something like that. It was somewhere around 2 years was the projected wait time. So it's going to take a while, okay? Unfortunately. And then once you get that, you have to wait 4 years from the time that you get that to apply for your U.S. citizenship. They don't backdate it. Unfortunately, they don't count the time that between your application and your receipt of the approval of the green card. That they don't count that time in between toward those 4 years. You have to actually wait 4 years from the moment of approval to be able to apply for U.S. citizenship. Okay, so that is how that works. All right, what else do you have for me? Okay. Okay. Paula reproduced her question in English. She says, I was illegal in the United States with a visa. I have a minor American daughter. Can I claim asylum at the border? I have a case. Will I be deported or will I be able to present my case? How will they prosecute me? So you say you were illegal in the United States. Were you deported? This is an important question because if you were deported and then you come back without permission and seek asylum at the border, you can't win asylum. There's a rule that says if you've been deported and then you come back without a visa, you can't get asylum. However, if you fear being harmed in your country, you may be able to win a different form of protection that's not as good as asylum. It's not. It doesn't come with as many benefits. There's actually kind of two different variants of it. But basically, the idea is, okay, you don't qualify for asylum because you've been deported and then you came back without permission. But if the judge is convinced that you're going to be like harmed really bad in your country, you might be able to win another form of protection that allows you to stay here and work legally. You can't bring any other family members to the United States based on it, and it does not give you any chance, doesn't create a way for you to change and get permanent status here. You just have this other protection status indefinitely. So if you, okay, Pal clarified, I wasn't deported. Okay, so then you don't have to worry about that. So yeah, I mean, you can request asylum. There's a lot of uncertainty about what exactly will happen. Okay, because the government has changed its rules very frequently in the last few years about how it treats people that come to the border and what happens to them, how they are processed, and what the procedures will be. Okay, and federal court judges have made decisions that have made first the Trump administration, now the Biden administration, change their policies. So basically, there's a lot of uncertainty about what happens when someone comes to the border. But the short answer is that yeah, you almost certainly will at least be allowed to explain your case to an immigration officer, at least in brief. And if they think that you have a chance of winning, like if you have a decent case, then they'll probably let you be free, go free, and you'll have hearings before an immigration judge where you have to apply for asylum and you have to actually explain your case in court before the immigration judge. But understand that a couple things to understand is that it's dangerous. I don't know where you're from, Paula, but I mean the area along the border with Mexico and the United States is pretty dangerous. So know that. And then second, there's a lot of three things. Second, there's a lot of uncertainty about what happens. Some in the past they have told people, no, sorry, you can't seek asylum. You can't even come in at all. You have to stay in Mexico or get sent straight back to your country. So the third thing then is you're going to be detained. Okay, if you come to the border and say I want asylum, you're going to be detained. It may just be a few hours. There's a good chance it will be at least a few days. It may be longer. It could be weeks, maybe even months or years. Okay, that happens sometimes. So I want anyone who is thinking about coming to the border to the United States to know about those risks or those downsides, those hardships and danger. Only you can decide, right, whether it's worth it, like whether what you face in your own country is so severe and so bad that like it's worth that risk, it's worth that hardship. Um, you know, that's a decision only you can make. But I want people to know about some of the tougher aspects of seeking asylum at the border. Okay. All right. So, thank you. Very, very kind of you on TikTok. Deborah says my asylum case was pending in immigration court and no future date. What can I do? Nothing really. You got to wait, unless if there's some kind of emergency situation that would be made better by you getting a decision in your immigration case. You can ask the judge to speed it up and to give you a date soon for your hearings. It's hard to make that happen, but it can sometimes. Like if you have a medical provider who can write a letter that says, listen, Deborah, I'm just totally making up facts here. They need to be true. Okay. Always tell the truth. Deborah is severely depressed because, and one of the things that's causing that or contributing to it is her uncertainty and stress surrounding her immigration case. I think that if she got that resolved, it would be much better for her mental health and make her not be as depressed. If a mental health provider, like a counselor or a doctor says that can be something that could possibly get it sped up, but it's hard to do. I mean, there's like a million people. I forgot the number. There's like a million people waiting in the backlog in immigration court. So there's a long line, and they don't always just say, okay, yeah, we'll give you what you want when you want it, right? So, but I'm sorry that you're in that difficult position. All right. Soccer Top 10 says, my dad used to work for the Gaddafi regime in Libya, and now we're targeted because of that. Is there a good chance of winning asylum? Well, yeah, I mean, so if there's going to be a lot of questions for you about whether your dad or your family did bad things, because it's the Gaddafi regime and they have a bad reputation here. So expect that there's going to be a lot of questions related to like persecution and the other bars to asylum, like related to terrorism, and well, it wouldn't be terrorism in this case, but persecution of others. So be ready for that. But to answer your question about like if you're being targeted, you and your family, if you're being targeted because of your dad, basically because you are the son of your dad, and your family has like this bad name now, and people are mad at your family because of what your dad did, and they want to punish everyone in the family because of it. Yes, that's a ground to get asylum. So earlier I said that to win asylum, you have to show that the persecution is on account of, or at least motivated by, at least in significant part, the fact that you possess one of the 5 protected grounds under U.S. asylum law. And those are your race, religion, nationality, political opinion, and membership in a particular social group. And so you, Soccer Top 10, would fit in this last one of membership in a particular social group, because the judges have said, courts have said, okay, if you're targeted because of your family, that counts, that fits under this box of, under this umbrella of membership in a particular social group. So yes, that would be a valid ground to pursue asylum, but you still have to also prove that you have been harmed really badly, or that there's a good chance that you will be harmed really badly. Okay. Giovanni says, does threatening on YouTube says, does threatening to sue USCIS work when it's done by an individual rather than an attorney with this case pending at the Miami Asylum office? I don't know. I don't know if I've ever talked. I don't think I've ever talked to anyone who has done it without a lawyer. There's no reason that it can't. I mean, sure, yeah, like you could do it. It's a little tricky with when your federal court is the rules about like how to file, and the rules concerning procedures in federal court are tricky. So that's a problem. But a smart, sophisticated person like you, Giovanni, I'm sure could figure it out. I mean, I think it would be easier. You'll have probably a better chance for success with a lawyer. But yeah, I mean, there's no reason that you can't do it yourself. Especially if the longer you've been waiting, the easier it is to win. And so if you've been waiting like 8-10 years, then doing it yourself, probably sure you'd probably have a decent chance for success. All right. So, and then Cameron says, is it usually take 2 months after receipt notice to get the interview, or 2 months after filing date? for a lot of people in the last year, we've been seeing 2 to 3 months from filing, from the time of filing. Well, okay, sorry. Let me back up. The thing is, Cameron, when I say 2 or 3 months from filing, that's for our clients for whom we've been applying online. Okay. And that moves things a lot faster. If you applied on paper, it takes 2 or 3 months just to get the receipt notice, right? And so then, if you apply on paper, then it's probably another 2 or 3 months to get the interview. Okay, cool. Badru says, "Thanks for always educating us, Mr. Bryant. You're welcome. It's my pleasure." And then, okay, Giovanni, 6 years. Yeah, I mean, 6 years is a long time, Giovanni. You've got a pretty good chance, I would say, of winning a mandamus case. And if you want to give it a try yourself, go for it. Boo Girl says, "Thanks, Mr. Bryan. You're a good lawyer." Very kind of you. I appreciate that. Thank you, Boo Girl. I appreciate that. All right. So regarding these lawsuits, Ahmed asks, how long is it basically after you can sue them? Is there any timeline? Like, what's the rule or the guidance for how long do you have to be waiting before you have a legitimate chance of winning a lawsuit where you sue the government because it's taking too long? How long is too long? I would say 3 years. I think most of my immigration lawyer friends would say that. I tend to agree with that. Like, I probably would not sue the government on someone's behalf or recommend that they sue if it's been less than 3 years. I think that's kind of the cutoff date. Okay. At 3 years, I think you have a chance. And then at 5 years, you have a good chance. Anything like 6 years or on, you have a very good chance of being successful with threatening to sue or actually suing if you have to do that. Okay. So that is what I think about that. All right. Okay. All right. So in TikTok, we've got a question that says, as if my family case is still pending for interview for 6+ years, can my kids get financial aid for college? No idea. That's something that, unfortunately, I don't know. That's something that's handled by the college, right? Like, if it's a public school, like the state runs the school, then it goes by the state's rules. Or if it's a private school, it goes by like that private school's own rules. So you need to basically ask the school. Okay, so every school will have a financial aid um, office that they answer questions like this. Now, I can tell you, unfortunately, just the fact that you've had an asylum application pending for years, that by itself is not going to be a reason to get financial aid, and it doesn't give you any kind of special sort of status that helps you qualify for financial aid. But just, what the ultimate question really is, like, just as a someone who does not have status, um, are you eligible to get financial aid? That's something that you would have to ask. Like, I would ask the school about. Okay. Uh, oh, good one. Good question by Dimitro. Says, does having TPS increase the chances of getting approved for an asylum interview? Like, in other words, if you have TPS, is a better chance that you win your asylum case? No, unfortunately, not. No, not at all. Not at all. I mean, maybe psychologically there's like a tiny, tiny, tiny benefit, because to get TPS, the Department of Homeland Security, which is the agency that the asylum officers work for, they have to say that, like, things in the country are bad for some reason. I mean, sometimes it can be like natural disaster, but like most recently in Venezuela, it's just like overall things are terrible. And one of the things that DHS cited in declaring and creating TPS for Venezuela was like the corruption and like political instability and violence. So those are things that can be relevant to asylum case. So I do point to that in my legal research, right, for people that the DHS itself has criticized Venezuela for being corrupt and violent. I do that in most cases because it is relevant in most Venezuelan cases. But that's only at, like, I mean, really, like, it doesn't give you any formal benefit. It doesn't give you any formal benefit. It's like maybe a tiny bit just in the mind of the asylum officer. If they're like, oh, things must be pretty rough there if my agency decided to give them TPS. That's about the only benefit that it might give you. Okay. Okay, so Mohammed Habib says, great resources, Brian. Thanks for all that you do. You're welcome, Mohammed. My pleasure. I've sent an email to you with a few questions. If you could help clarify, thanks. Good vibes. So, Mohammed, I'm not able to reply to every email. I get a whole lot of emails. Best thing to do is if you're thinking about hiring an immigration lawyer soon, then call us and set up an asylum strategy session. Okay. And then we'll get it on the calendar so that we make sure that you're ready and that myself or one of our other political asylum lawyers that we're ready to talk in detail with you. That's the best way to get questions answered if you think that you might want to hire a lawyer soon. Okay. All right. Okay. Nice. So listen, it's been a pleasure. I've got to go. We're going to finish call today. But thank you for being with me. And listen, call us if you want to talk about your situation. 713-909-0401. Again, 713-909-0401. Call us and okay, Mohammed. Okay, thanks. Then I'll look for your. We will answer your questions. Thank you for clarifying. Call us if you want to talk with us. Okay, and we hope to be in touch with you. And it's an honor for me to have a chance to talk with, to communicate with you guys and answer your questions in this forum. So thank you for being on TikTok and Facebook and YouTube with us. As always, it's a pleasure to serve you in your asylum journey. Thank you, guys. I appreciate that. Very kind of you. That's actually funny too. Nice. Bye, guys.